Hey, what's going on? This is the Niche Lifestyle Show, and we have Alex Cooper from WP Eagle, Mark and Adam from Niche Website Builders, and I'm Doug Cunnington. Today, we're going to talk about quitting your job and when to go full time. So, welcome the folks in the chat. I see we have Phil on, Chris is on already, and Dom and Daniel as well. So, let us know if you could hear us, give us a shout. And thanks for all the people that watch the replays. I know a lot of people do watch the replays since the time may not be convenient for them. So we're going to do our little round table here, see what's been going on with everybody. So I know, Adam, you were out last week and everyone missed you very much. So many people were asking about you. So we want to hear about some of your adventures. So what were you up to, and any highlights?
Yeah, so we went on a family holiday to Bulgaria, which was it was awesome. Like, it was a lovely place. The weather was nice, but we were literally the first guests to arrive in the hotel. And when we arrived, they gave us champagne and they met us with like traditional Bulgarian bread, and we were like, this is awesome. Until we realized that because we were the first guests, like, the food was horrible. There wasn't much food. Like, they were still putting the signposts up, and it was a big complex. You couldn't really see anything. The swimming pools weren't heated because there was just like 5 families there. They didn't heat the swimming pools. So the first like 4 or 5 days actually was just really a bit rubbish. And then it got better as more people arrived. But it's just nice to get away, to be honest.
First of the season or first ever?
First of the season, literally, like... Okay. We got there and we were like, oh, wow, this is awesome treatment. We've never arrived at a hotel like this before. And they even had like a photographer there taking photos and stuff. And then it turns out we made it to the local press. Like, we're on like the local news website. It's been the first guest of the season. So yeah, I just wish we'd gone like a week or two later now, to be honest, when things had opened up and the food was better and stuff like that. But
gotcha. And like,
was the headline Niche Lifestyle Show co-presenter Adam Smith
missing
holiday in Bulgaria? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, something like that.
And is it like, I guess, seasonal workers? So people are in from like different parts of the country and stuff like that?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Like, I literally went to go and get our like pool towels on the first day with our card. And I went to the lifeguard, and he's like, I don't know, mate. Like, just started. So I was like, okay, who can I go and ask? He's like, go and ask in the restaurant. I went up there, and they were like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I just walked around the whole complex for an hour trying to find towels because no one knew anything, basically.
The guy wasn't even a lifeguard. He was just a dude that gave a whistle. Yeah,
pretty much.
Wow. So was it relaxing otherwise? I mean, maybe not the best amenities, but nice place or whatever?
Yeah, it was. It was really nice. I got to read a book as well, which is a rarity. So I read Happy Sexy Millionaire by Stephen Bartlett. You know, the guy who founded Social Chain?
No. Dragon's Den in the UK as well. Like Doug, you know Dragon's Den. He's like one of the people on that. He's really young. Go ahead.
It's like a UK's version of Shark Tank. Dragon's Den is.
Okay.
So he's one of those guys. But he's founded like a social media marketing company in his early 20s. It went public for like 200 million by the time he was 24 or 25. Like, just, yeah, he's a happy, sexy millionaire, and he's telling you how to become a happy, sexy millionaire.
So what's the message then?
Be happy and sexy, and then become rich, basically. Easy as that. Yeah, easy as pie.
And how many pages did it take for him to tell you that?
Well, I stopped reading after about 3 pages, so I don't know. No, it was actually good. It was more along the lines of money doesn't make you happy. It's like appreciating what you've got, and everyone, like, your appearance to other people. Like, you don't have to worry about your appearance, otherwise you're never going to be happy, and all that kind of stuff. But me and Mark were chatting about it afterwards, and we were like, it's easy for him to say when he's 24 with like 15, 20 million in the bank, and he's traveling the world, like living the high life. He's a celebrity. He's got 1 million followers on social media and stuff. Like, it's easy for him to say money isn't important and status isn't important and all this kind of stuff because he's got it. But I don't know. It was an interesting book. I'd recommend it. I thought it was good. I took some good tips.
Okay.
Interesting.
I think the key there is that the money
hold on
doesn't
one
make
second.
you happy, but
Are
a
you guys
lack of
getting
money
feedback?
certainly makes you unhappy.
Yeah,
Alex,
yeah.
hold on. Alex, your audio's fucked up somehow. Like whenever you talk, there's some bad feedback.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were making a profound point. I know that, and we'll come back to you in a second. I don't know what it was. There's no echo, but it was just like weird feedback. So while you're fixing that, Mark, have you had time to think about some of your past week here?
So I do so much every week. Obviously. I guess my news for the week was I'm moving house soon, so I got a date booked in the calendar. Only 24 hours later to have it taken away because the sellers decided they don't want to move that day and they want to wait. They want us to buy they want to sell their house first. Basically, there was no chain. They were moving abroad, and now they decided they're not moving abroad, and they want to wait for us to wait till they sell their house. So pain in the bottom. So that's my news for the week. But so I might not be moving as soon as I thought or hoped or dreamed.
Oh man, that's a bummer. I know, like my sister and brother-in-law, they have been trying to find a house, and I think they got an offer accepted, but they had a couple things fall through, just like what you're saying. So is the market pretty crazy in your neck of the woods there?
Yeah, I think it's quite. Yeah, I think it is, but it should have been okay. But we've got to literally the last minute. We've booked movers for like 2 weeks' time, hopefully. It was just so last minute. It's very frustrating. So I don't know. We're still working through it right now. Hopefully, he's watching and change his mind.
Oh man! And then
Hello, is that any better?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, you're good to go. So, do you remember what you were saying, Alex?
Just that money doesn't buy you happiness. But if you don't have any money, then you're going to be unhappy.
You should write a book about that, Alex.
Yeah. Cover that across a few hundred pages, but that's basically the message. I think if people think that the more money they get, the more happy they'll be, but there's no correlation there. It's a bit like air. I think when you got air, it's fine. When you haven't got air, problems.
You're dead.
But more air doesn't make you any better. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there is a key to being happy. I think. Well, I don't think you can be happy all the time. Isn't that impossible?
I'm happy all the time.
Are you?
No.
You weren't happy when you couldn't find a towel in Bulgaria.
Well, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think happy is just a sliding graph of up and downness.
You did like the book, though, didn't you? I mean, in honesty, and he is just a really smart guy, and I quite like what he has to say. Generally,
I'll check it out.
And I wonder if a younger person, because we're all about the same age-ish, like 32. How old are you, Adam?
35.
Okay, and then Alex, you are like 40 something.
Oh, don't you offended him now, Doug?
Yeah,
he's not even answering you.
It's very serious, mate.
Sorry, I missed that. The audio dropped out. Say it again.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you weren't speaking to me, but yeah, you were.
Alex, you're 52, right?
Hey, less 42.
42. Okay, and I'm 55. So, and then Mark, how old are you?
You're 47.
47. So yeah, I mean, I drink a lot of water, work out, stay in good shape. No, I'm 43.
Moisturize.
But what I was going to say is, a younger person maybe would get that book and they're like, oh wow, so inspiring. But like, we're perhaps a little bit older and wiser, and we're like, there's a lot of perspective that's not in the book. Maybe. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think possibly, yeah. I mean, I guess he is a smart guy, but he's only got so much experience, right? I guess he might write that same book a bit differently in 20 years' time. But
yeah.
And he was probably like right place, right time. I guess. When did he set up his social agency? Just when social was taking off, probably.
Literally like a couple of years old, to be honest. So I think maybe when he was 19, I think. And I think it went public when he was 24. So like 5 years, maybe.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
easy then, wasn't it?
impressive story. So, and then side note, what you were talking about, Alex, I've heard like the stat before, like if you have something like $75,000 a year, like usually that's a good threshold. And then like if you have in excess of that, like your happiness doesn't go up. You just like have more problems, or either you have it figured out or you don't. But about 75K like gets you what you need to live. Have you guys heard that stat?
Yeah, I think that's probably about right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So, Alex, what's been going on with you?
Just getting ready for Affiliate Gathering, which is, the Fringe events start tomorrow.
Wow.
So,
when are you leaving,
Fringe
Alex?
event is 8 o'clock tomorrow evening in York at Brew York. It's a ticket event. If you've got tickets, then please don't turn up. And so I've got a plane to catch in the morning. And yeah, looking forward, excited to meet everyone. Slight change to the bill. I mean, did you hear that Ricky got COVID and now he can't make it?
Yeah.
No way. I didn't hear that. No.
Yeah, way. So that's no
no.
good.
Is he doing all right? Or
He's doing he's going to do his presentation live using the wonders of technology, hopefully. And then also Tyler got sick as well from his Zoic. He can't make it.
oh no.
But it turns out that they have an office in Newcastle and in London. So there's going to be, and I've forgotten his name. It's John. Is it John? One of the co-founders of Izoic. We've spoke to him before. He's a really cool guy. He's got a lot of sites, and he's going to be stepping in for Tyler. So that's fine. But yeah, I'm excited. Looking forward to it. I think you guys are going, aren't you, Adam, Mark?
So, yeah, we are. Yeah. So what's happening with?
What time are you coming to York?
We're going to be there mid-afternoon.
Perfect. Where are you staying?
In the same hotel where where it is. I can't remember what that's called. That one.
The
We're
principal
not
of
It's
the
a nice
United?
hotel. Can't put me in the Premier Inn.
We're
That's
getting
what you
there
get if you get Carl to pay.
we're getting there around beer o'clock, Alex, if you want to meet up.
Perfect. Well, yeah. So my event starts at 8, but yeah, I'll be once I got in, freshened up, be looking for somewhere to go. I'm sure.
Nice.
What's happening with dinner with Ricky then?
I'm going to be there. I've got to find my way from Leeds to York. I guess I'll just Uber it or something. But yeah, I'll be touching down about 3 PM, I think. So I should be in York by 5. All being well.
And from the chat, who all's going to be at Affiliate Gathering? I feel like I'm missing out.
Yeah, Simplified Gardening's going to be there. Stuart's going to be there, but look at it. Sue's going to be there. Bill's going to be there. Martin's going to be there. Everyone's going to be there. Really.
Everyone.
I think the first Fringe starts at 4 PM. I think so. I think we're heading over to that, whatever that is. I can't remember now.
Yeah, I think Ricky's Fringe is still on. Carl's going to basically be Ricky.
So it's dinner. Instead of dinner with Ricky, it's dinner with Carl
This
now.
is like a sit-down meal, very organized, civilized affair, rather than just like mine, which is like some bayos and some beer. Different.
Awesome.
But yeah, Carl's going to be hosting that because Carl was hoping to go around to all of the Fringes, like just going around like that Vicar of Dibley, that Christmas one where she goes and eats all those Christmas dinners, I think. But yeah, he'll be doing that. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's a fantastic thing. I mean, just the thought of organizing an event of that scale brings me out in like a cold sweat. I just couldn't face that. Have you ever organized a big event? Have you ever done any of that kind of stuff?
Nah, nothing that big. How many people? It's like 200-300, right?
There's hundreds.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people flying in from Dubai, Australia.
Yeah.
It's a big thing, yeah. York's not going to know what hit it. I've never been to York. I'm actually looking forward to going to York, a very old city.
Very cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll get to the topic in just a second. My quick update is I got a new tattoo here. So
Oh yeah.
this is
Wow.
is still healing up here, if it'll focus on the right thing. So this is a sun and stars. I'm half Filipino, so this is the sun and stars from the Filipino flag, and it's just not focusing on me. Once it heals up, I'll probably do.
We've got the focus.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's
Wow,
pretty.
that's
You know,
awesome.
you don't mistake it. It's a big fucking tattoo. So I did want to get something
I heard you
larger.
mention it on your podcast the other day, but you said it was going to be small. I had nothing to write home about. And
Oh,
that's small.
no, that's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, and like Adam and I were chatting. Like I don't know, I like a sleeve look. I'm not sure what else to fill it out with, but Adam, you have a sizable tattoo, and you were mentioning, you don't have to share the whole thing, but like you're gonna get a whole sleeve, right?
Yeah, so finish off this arm. So I've got it like up there so far, and I'm just gonna get
Nice.
it like finished off all the way down and like all the way around and stuff. And yeah, and then me and my wife are gonna get the non-cringe matchy tattoos. You wouldn't tell they were matchy tattoos, and they don't like we don't not names or anything like that, but it's something personal to us. It's quite funny. Like when I have it done, I'll share it with you. But it's a funny tattoo. So we've filled out the form to get a date to have those done as well.
Awesome. It's very fun.
Oh wow! I don't have any tattoos.
None. Not
And
your
I don't
thing.
plan on getting any either.
No. Yeah. How about you, Mark? Do you have some?
We should get affiliate gathering tattoos in York. Oh,
Oh,
yes.
that's a great idea.
That's a terrible idea.
I have no tattoos. I have no particular plans, but maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. If the door's open, you may
Never
just
say
have
never.
enough drinks at affiliate gathering.
No, I've never been. Maybe when I was like a teenager, I thought across my mind when I was drunk at a festival and there was some guy doing it with a bottle of Indian ink and a rusty needle. But since then, I've not had the urge.
Me and my wife talk about waiting until we get to 70 when our skin is fully in its natural lasting state of sagginess, and then don't got to worry about stretching and stuff, and you can just do it then. So.
Yeah. That makes sense. And I did see when we were in Arizona, the person wasn't 70, but they were maybe like 60, and gray hair. She was sitting at the bar, and she had like a big ass tattoo like this, and it was fresh. You could tell like it was very like bright and vibrant and high contrast, not faded or anything. So, yeah, she was like whatever, 57, and got like a new tattoo, which you don't picture, but when you go to the shop, there's like all sorts of people getting tattoos. It's pretty interesting. So anyway, thanks everyone for the compliments there in the chat. And we'll get to the topic of the day. I have a few areas that we'll focus on. And of course, it's like when to quit your job, when to go full time. And I think each of us sort of came into this in a different way. And I don't want to spend too much time because I think some of us didn't necessarily quit our job. So I want to go around and just hear maybe like the few sentence answer on how you ended up going full time. And then we'll sort of back into some other areas like how much savings one might want to have, maybe revenue checkpoints or baseline so you have enough confidence, and how long it maybe takes to earn replacement income. Maybe it's a couple years, something like that. And then the other part, which is more interpersonal relationships, like what about your spouse or partner? And what about your parents or other peers, people that you're just going to have to deal with that may not agree with what you're trying to do? So those are some of the topics we're going to talk about. So like I said, first off, we'll go around. So Adam, how did you end up going full time? Did you quit your job or did you kind of easily transition into this?
Yeah, I kind of quit my job. Well, I did quit my job, but basically it was at the point where I'd sold a website and I'd made more in the 7 months that I grew and flipped that website than I like made all year the agency job that I was working at. And I was like, I need to do more of this. Like, how do I do more? But I didn't want to quit because you've got that safety net. So I asked my boss at the time, could I drop down to 3 days a week, do 3 days at the agency and just kind of do my own thing 2 days a week. But like the role was quite demanding. It was client facing. I was traveling to universities in the UK, like selling them digital strategies and stuff like that. And she basically said like, no, it's not a part-time role. You either have to be part-time and you either have to be full-time or the role doesn't work. So I went home and thought about it and had a chat to my partners. And the next day I went in and I just gave her my resignation. And she's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "It's my letter of resignation. He's like, what do you mean? I thought we agreed yesterday you were going to stay. And I was like, no, I said, I'm going to go and think about it. And he said, I couldn't do part-time. I could only do full-time or nothing. I was like, so it's nothing. Like, here's my letter. And that was it. And we'll probably get into more of the details, but looking back, I was a bit naive because I quit with only the money that I had from selling the website. I didn't have any other income really coming in. And I then had to make it work with that money to buy another website and make it work or go and look for another job, basically. So
Got it.
that's how I quit.
Okay. And then do you think that your boss would have negotiated differently if he would have known that you were going to quit?
Potentially. I don't know. I don't know. I like to think that I was well respected in the job and liked in the job and appreciated in the role. So potentially, but on saying that, they didn't try and change my mind when I said I gave them my letter of resignation. So
Sure.
maybe it was I thought it was like maybe a negotiating tactic, you know, you can't do it part-time. That's it. Thinking that I wouldn't quit, but they didn't try and change my mind afterwards. So I don't know.
Gotcha. All right. What about you, Mark? How'd you start working for yourself?
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends like on like your tolerance for risk and stuff, doesn't it? Which I guess we'll come into. But like for me, I'd had enough. I was working at Microsoft for like 10 years and it's great, honestly, a really great place to work. I recommend anyone go there if they wanted to like work in a corporate world in technology. It's great. There's so many good things about it. But I've been there like 10 years and I'd started another business on the side, which was already going really well. But I'd built a piece of software and a company was running it. I hadn't got any income from it. It was just like I had shares in this company, but I could see it growing and it was doing really well. And I kind of got the bug for it. And it kind of like pushed me out faster, I think, out of Microsoft. And I kind of like got to the point where I was like, I really don't want to do this anymore. I could see like the other side and like what it looked like with this other business growing. And I decided to start my own like marketing and web agency. And so I had like I was like completely foolish and naive as well, like at that point, because I had like a little bit of savings in my account, but I can't even remember what it was. It was it might have been like a month's salary or something, you know, like hardly anything. And I built a couple of websites and I thought that was okay. I could build a couple more, but I had no real pipeline of work like coming down the road. I'd not made a name for myself. I'd not like networked and had connections and all of that. And I just left and I immediately just started crapping myself like, oh shit. Like, but oh no, actually, no, this is like not strictly true. Actually, it's partly true. So I actually did what Adam did and I asked to go part-time. And they were like, oh, this is a bit weird. Like a guy asking to go part-time. Like sometimes women ask to go part-time when they've had a baby and they come back and they're part-time. And I was like, well, you know, you do it for them. Like, what about for me? So they actually did let me. So for 9 months or so, that's a weird time frame considering pregnancy, but about 9 months or so, I was part-time 3 days a week at Microsoft. And then 2 days a week doing my own stuff, in which I did start going out and networking, but I still was totally naive. So when I left, I didn't really have I didn't really have in place what was needed to actually make it go and without needing a long runway. So
Got it.
I mean, I made it work because I just worked really hard and like got there, you know, but and just about made it through. But at the time, I didn't have any kids, like no major commitments. My wife was working, so like there was income there. Like it wasn't too bad, but it was still pretty scary. But
got it.
That's the gist of it, really.
And then how about you, Alex? You had some agency stuff going on, right?
Yeah. And then before that, when I quit my proper job, I mean, I was in my 20s, early 20s, quite young and naive. But I knew I wanted to have my own business. I knew that the only way to ever make any money and get proper income was to have my own business. Obviously, later discovered that a traditional business was also not what I was looking for because that takes up a lot of time as well. But that's when I set up my very first company, which was the Wi-Fi company. I went to my parents and said, this is what I want to do. And I prepared like a little business plan, printed it out, put it in a binder and all that kind of stuff and said, this is my business. And I was hoping that they were going to be my dragons. I said, basically, can you lend me 10 grand? That should tie me over for a few months and then I'll get some clients in and it would all be fine. And in fact, I had the idea that I would just take a lot of the clients from the company I used to work for because we had a good relationship. That didn't quite pan out as I thought because clients are actually quite loyal, actually. and won't just jump ship on a whim with some 20-year-old who's just set up their own business, funnily enough. So yeah, I did that, and then let's cut the story very quickly short. I then obviously got into doing the agency after I realized that doing IT stuff and Wi-Fi and all that stuff was just a right pain. That's when I started doing the agency, doing Google AdWords management, a bit of SEO, but generally AdWords management. And then again, I realized, even though this is cool and we are earning a lot of money and we seem to have business sorted because we've got clients that pay us every single month. So that's good, because, you know, the initial lesson you learn in business, which is what I learned in the Wi-Fi company, is you can't keep going to get new clients. That's a lot of work. You can't just get a client, get some money off them, and then go and get another client. That's far too much work. You want to get a client and get them to pay you every single month. Then I realized that's fine, but you've still got a client and you have to see them, and they ring you up, they email you, you've got to do them reports, they expect work. God, nightmare.
Yeah.
So, I was then trying to figure out, there's got to be a way to make money without clients and without a boss and all that kind of stuff. And I met some affiliate marketeers who actually became clients of ours, and we did some AdWords for them back when AdWords was cheap and we could actually make it work. They were selling all sorts of things. And well, that's what I need to do. Affiliate marketing. Couldn't figure out how on earth I was going to do that. And I bought some sites off Flipper. I was also looking at YouTube at the time, and we had an investor, again, a bit like Dragon's Den, come into our agency. Me and him didn't get on. He then bought me out. So I had a chunk of money and I could like sit and relax and go, okay, what am I going to do? I want to do YouTube. That's the first thing I thought. So I started WP Eagle, started doing WordPress tutorials, and then it just twigged. And I thought, okay, I can also do affiliate marketing now because I can promote hosting and domains. And then I saw the opportunity to create a tutorial around making an affiliate marketing website, which was one of my first tutorial videos, where I made a site called Zombie Merch, was it? Using WooZone and some other horrible plugins and bits and bobs. But that really then pushed my channel forward, because it turned out there was a lot of people out there looking to make affiliate marketing websites, and they followed my tutorial. I mean, I hadn't actually at that point created any affiliate or had any affiliate marketing websites that had done particularly well, but I knew how to use WordPress and I knew how to build a site. It was only later that I did like the case study like Best Roof Box, where I actually thought, okay, I'm going to build a site, but I'm also going to try and make a ton of money out of it. And thankfully it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. But in terms of, there was a question earlier about how much money you should have. And
we're not hitting those yet. We're not
into that. Sorry.
No.
Yeah, that's how I got into it anyway. So I did have a little bit of safety net. My parents supported me. But I've got to say, I burned through that initial money pretty quick when I did the Wi-Fi stuff. And it did get pretty hairy at some points in terms of trying to make money. I was also selling equipment, which I found was, again, a nightmare, because I had to spend money to buy equipment and then wait to get paid. And there was that whole cash flow thing. And it got quite trickier. Then, you get to the end of the year and suddenly you've got a tax bill and, okay, well, where's all that money that I need to pay? Oh, I've spent it all. All that kind of stuff that you do when you have a business.
Right. Got it. Okay. And then for me, I had a corporate job, probably most similar to what Mark was doing. And I did that for about 10 years or so. And then for the last 2, I was dabbling with affiliate marketing and the side hustle stuff and found smart passive income, all that. And I got laid off in 2015. At that point, I didn't have like revenue coming in on a regular basis, or at least not enough. Maybe like $1,500, $2,000 a month. So nice on the side, but not replacement income. But like, I think all of us had sort of this similar experience where we knew that we could earn money, and we had earned quite a lot in a short time. So like, once you realize that you can do it, and then you have the confidence to like try it again, and like we're all naive enough to like give it a shot again, then you're like, if I did it before, like, I mean, I could do at least as good as I did before, like maybe I'll get better. So I thought that. And then like Mark, my wife was still working full time, so that sort of eased the stress. But I didn't have, and she'd be able to cover like all of our expenses, plus like we had we had a lot of savings like by the time I stopped. So even if I didn't earn anything, like we wouldn't want to touch any of the savings, but like it was lower pressure, I guess. And we would just kind of we're low risk people just in general. So as we are, go ahead.
Just talking about risk and that, I think there's a balance there though, because if you do have some of that risk and you don't have so much of a buffer zone of a kind of safety net, does that not kind of motivate you? Just
Yeah.
think, when you, or maybe that just makes you lose focus. I don't know. I guess there's a balance there between, because if you're just sitting on a ton of savings, you might just think, well, do I even have to do anything today? Whereas if you're running low on funds and you've got some bills coming in, that's kind of some serious motivation, isn't it?
Right. Well, for me, I think you're 100% right, and everyone has to look at their own motivation. For me, I did not want to get another fucking job. Like, I didn't want to interview. So, like, the penalty of having to get another job was just as high as like failing altogether. And just
So that was your motivation, yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't want to work for someone else again. Like, once you taste the freedom of like working on your own. That said, I know some people aren't motivated by the same things as I am, and it's a frequent topic. Like, how do you stay motivated to work on something for like several months or years, and you don't know if it's going to work out? Like, I can do that without much of an issue at all, but some people are like, I need to see like this is working in the first few weeks, or I like can't keep going. But yeah, some people are like, there's so many different cliches, like, burn the bridge, like burn the boats. There's a lot of fire involved with it, but like no escape plan is the idea, right?
Yeah. I think, you can't, I don't think you can, once you do leave, and I think there's like a time period anyway, after like 6 months or so when you work for yourself, that then you're basically unemployable anyway. Most employers won't look at you. They won't want to touch you. They're like, well, this guy, he's taken the red pill. Don't go near him.
So I think through no experience, but I think now post-COVID, I bet that is different. I bet people were like, everything shifted. So I bet if there's a big gap in your resume and you're like, I worked on my own projects for a couple years, people would be like, oh, okay. Now, maybe not my old corporate jobs, especially if I have like tattoos all over my arms. They're like, I don't know.
They'll just say, put a shirt on.
Yeah. Like, why'd you come in here with no shirt on, guy? It's crazy.
Yeah, and what they're going to say? So you did your own projects for 2 months, so then what? Well, they didn't work out. Is that why you're here? You loser? What's up with you?
Yeah,
exactly. Can I have a job, please?
Okay, so we talked a little bit about the, I guess, partially the risk, but some people are thinking like, okay, what revenue amount do I need to quit? And I think, one piece, and I'll pitch my other podcast, Mile High Fi, and it is about personal finance and financial independence. And one of the big pieces that a person needs to understand is their expenses. So I think like before you could figure out what revenue you need to know your expenses. And I'm not talking about like, oh, I think I spend, $5,000 per month. Like, you need to know how much your expenses are. So probably you can go back into your historical data, look at your credit cards, look at your transactions, and figure out over the past 3 years, you average whatever, $50,000 a year, 60,000 or whatever it is, right? And when you know that, then you have like a true estimate of what your expenses could be. There's always some, wiggle room and stuff like that. But once you figure that out, you can understand how much you need to earn. So with that said, just to lay that out as something that someone needs to figure out, we'll go to Mark first. As far as revenue, if someone came to you and said, hey, I'm looking for some advice, I'm earning a little bit on the side, how much should I earn before I quit?
Well, I think, you need to be, it depends which way you're looking at it here. Like if you want to have the same kind of lifestyle that you already have and it's kind of reliable-ish kind of income, then all you need is what you've already been getting, right? That's all you're going to need if that's like that. But if you're talking about, well, I'm not quite up to where I need to be, like how long's the runway? Like, do I need like to be able to survive in that time, in that interim period? Then that's kind of a different question. And I think it varies between the type of business that you're growing and how quickly is it you're going to acquire customers. Is it something that's that's slow, but like small sales, but over time it becomes a big thing, or is it something else? Or and also your tolerance to like risk. Then when you're younger and you've got no family and everything, it's easier to be more blasé about that kind of thing. You can just get another job, but it really comes down to a bit of math, doesn't it? So I mean, I think if you're worried and like you're not, I think quite often I think 6 months is a good place to be. Like in order for like if you can get 6 months of what you earn monthly, and that's your runway, in theory, over that 6 month period, you're going to start earning some money as well, and hopefully it'll be building up. So that 6 months becomes 7, 8, 9, 10, and hopefully then you kind of get there. So, but that's really broad. I mean, it depends on so many factors, I think, depending on the kind of business you're going into and that kind of thing. But I think 6 is generally a good number, I would say.
And then on a similar note, but not the same exact question, Alex, how important is it for someone to maybe put together like a business plan and like projections and all that kind of stuff, knowing that, it's probably going to be extremely wrong, right? Like we're making all these guesses, and I've put together spreadsheets early on and showed my wife, and if you follow it through, I'd have like $50 billion right now, right? Like obviously none of that shit happened. So what about business plan?
All that are just completely useless, especially the figures, because you just literally make them up, pick them out the air.
Yeah.
I don't think that's important. I think you need to probably be clear in your head what you're going to be doing, what your daily routine looks like, and maybe set some targets. So if you are going to be doing a niche website, you're going to be doing a YouTube channel, whatever it is you're going to be doing that's going to change your life, you need to think, okay, I'm doing a niche website. I'm going to publish 5 articles a week, and set some plans in that way. In that way, by the end of the year, I will have X number of articles that might be generating me, and then you can maybe put a monetary figure on it as an idea. But obviously, kind of very loose. But I think setting some targets in terms of your productivity is a good idea. Forecasts and projections and all that are probably not very good. And you should also be clear in your head what you're going to be doing. I mean, have you got a niche? Have you got a topic? What are you going to be doing? Get that clear. Maybe write that down with actionable points that you can do every week. I think you're absolutely right though about in terms of how much money do you need. It's going to depend on each person, and maybe you want to look at your existing lifestyle and your finances. Break them all down in a spreadsheet. That is important, so that okay, I need 2,000 a month. But then maybe look at that 2,000 a month and go, okay, rent or mortgage, okay, well, I need to pay that. Food, I need that one. But then whatever, going out, coffees, you could maybe cut tattoos, a few of them out. It's a lot of the pressure off. If you can bring that down and keep your expenses as low as possible, then you don't have to kind of earn so much to cover that. If you can it's easier to bring them down than it is to maybe get money in quickly. So looking at your expenses, I don't want this to turn into an accounting stream because that would be dull. But it's what you can kind of keep hold of. And my accountant, who was also Danish and also an accountant, he used to say things like, it's not what you earn, it's what you keep, which is kind of true to a certain degree. But then, you can't make money without spending money, can you? So I don't know. There's a balance there. But you can definitely reduce expenses. And it certainly takes the pressure off.
Yeah. Very good. Quick note, we will answer lots of questions. I have been marking the ones, so we'll come to those in a few minutes here. And a quick request to hit the thumbs up and like the video. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment, all that kind of stuff. Now, Adam, I want to go to you again. Similar ideas, but you had a situation that was kind of similar to what I think a lot of people run into. So you sold a site and you had a chunk of money, right? And you were like, okay, I could do this. And then you went from there. So how did you manage? And if you're able to share, I don't know if you are, but can you give us a ballpark of like how much you sold it for, what you brought home? And then you were like, all right, fuck, I could do this. And then how did you approach it just in general?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So it was $60,000. So it was about £50,000, which I guess it's a big chunk of money. Like I say, it was more than what I was making in my yearly salary at my job. So it was a good chunk of money. It was like 12-month runway, and I quit. And honestly, because I'd been working at the agency and it was like a demanding role, and I'd been working on my site pretty much every evening and most weekends, I quit, and then I just literally took like a month and a bit off. Like I didn't do anything. I was like, this is great. Like I've made it now. Like I don't have to do anything. And then very quickly realized, like, yeah, actually, that's not the reason why I quit. I quit, but I took some time off because I was tired more than anything. Like I'd been working crazy hours building the site and stuff. And then, so I took about a month and a half off, and then I bought another website, and the plan was literally to just do the same thing again. Like in my head, I was like, okay, well, if I've done it once, then I just need to put the same effort in, and I can do it again. And this time, hopefully, I can get there quicker or bigger because I can give it more time and focus and attention. And I think having worked in like corporate jobs or traditional jobs for years prior, that gave me once I started working on sites again, that gave me that framework. I felt like I had to work like set hours. I wasn't in like a mind frame of, I'll just work 2 hours a day, or I'll get up whenever I get up and then I'll start. I stuck to quite rigid hours then, like almost treated it like a full-time job again, like start at 9, finish at 5, take an hour for lunch and do it that way. And yeah, nothing in my lifestyle really changed much apart from I didn't go to the office anymore. I still stuck pretty much to the same hours. I felt like I was working just as hard. And I was still doing lots of the actual things for the website myself. I was still doing lots of the initial writing for that second site. I was still doing lots of the all the research. Yeah, I didn't feel like my lifestyle didn't change too much apart from having that break between selling and quitting and then starting again. Apart from I didn't have anyone to answer to, and I didn't go to an office essentially.
Mm-hmm. And you said you took like a month and a half, just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, it was about a month and a half. Yeah, and I didn't do much. It felt like it felt new and exciting. You know, I didn't have to get up then, and I could watch telly in the middle of the day, and I could go out whenever I wanted to, and I could go to the gym in the middle of the day, and it just felt fun and exciting. But then very quickly I realized like this is not why I quit my job. That $60,000 is not going to last me very long if I don't do anything. So.
What did your wife say? I'm just like when you're sitting around, because my wife would be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, come on."
Yeah, she's really supportive. To be fair, like she's been really supportive throughout since we've been together. Like, I talked to her. We literally had the conversation the one night. So I said to her I was going to go in. We didn't even discuss going in and dropping down to 3 days a week. I just said to her, like, this is what I'm going to do. Yeah. And then when they said no, when I came home, we just had like a one evening conversation about quitting my job. She's like, yeah, if you want to do it, then go for it and I'll support you. And I did. And she was cool with it. I think she saw how hard I'd been working on the site, and like, I don't think she'd begrudge me having a couple of weeks off, to be honest. I think she would have become a bit more worried if I'd gone on for like 3, 4, 5 months and we didn't have any money coming in and stuff. But she was working as well at the same time, so it was all good.
Got it. Okay, cool. And one more request for more questions. We're going to hit those in just a second here. And kind of on that note, I'm going to transition into like spouses, parents, partners, like other people that are impacted by the decision to go full time. And then we'll finish up with how long to earn like replacement income. What's a decent estimate? And then we'll hit those questions. So I'll go first as far as the spouses and stuff. So my wife has not been as supportive. However, when I did get laid off, she was like, you can give it a shot. Like, I have seen you be successful in this area. And we lived in Bozeman, Montana at the time, which fairly low population, it's like 50,000. And we have lived in cities with like multiple millions in the suburbs and such. So much easier to get a job in a big hub like that. But we were essentially in the middle of nowhere. But it has been, I would say contentious at times, because I'm like, I can do this, I can make it work, I can do it. And it's always been a bit of a struggle, like a little back and forth. And even through the years being successful, and earning far more than I would at a corporate job, it's still been a a battle because I don't see what we do as risky because we figured out how to earn money on our own, and you could do it again. You can go to different venues. We could do it online. We could do it offline. You could do services. You could sell court. Like there's all these different opportunities. And if you work at a corporate job, you can get laid off. And some people will say, my manager's great. My manager is going to take care of me. But you go one level up, they don't care about you really at all. Like they'll lay you off in a second, and you're just a number. Even in smaller companies, by the way, I've seen it happen so many times. So it has been a struggle, and only through, being successful, I think has been able to work out for me. I think if I had, a couple years where I earned a small amount early on, it would have been a major issue, and I'd be interviewing for jobs and stuff. So the struggle is certainly real, and some people have more of a traditional idea of a job, and they just can't put their head around entrepreneurship. Of course, entrepreneurs are like, I can't imagine working at a job. So it's the same coin, just the other side. So show of hand, like you guys, I don't know who wants to go first. Any thoughts on like working with a spouse or partner, or maybe you had a situation with your parents or friends or something where they're like, I don't know if you should quit that job. My parents, by the way, they were like, sure, whatever, you're still working with computers. Like they didn't really understand what I was doing anyway. So yeah, who wants to go here?
Yeah.
Somebody want to?
Yeah, I can go. Yeah, like before I go, I just want to caveat. Like I mentioned about 6 months earlier, I was like an arbitrary number. We always talk about niche sites, and I wasn't even thinking in that context. Don't quit your job and expect your niche site to replace your income unless you're living in a part of the world where the cost of living is like really low. Like that's not going to be enough time. Like I was thinking more about selling services at the time. That's kind of what I was doing, and that's where I had my headspace. Of course, if you're going to be a freelancer, you can probably get that job get a job and get replacement income pretty quickly. So it really depends on what type of stuff you're doing. So if you're starting a niche site, don't expect to be able to get 6 months runway isn't really enough. You need to start it on the side first. So I just want to caveat that before everyone goes and quits their job.
It's too late. Everyone's already quit their job. They're hoping they're going to find in 6
They
months.
sent in a notice.
Quick, call your boss back. I didn't mean it.
I don't mean it.
Mark said.
The other thing is, so I think like my wife's like always been like massively supportive as well. Like no matter what, like and times like when you're in business, like when I had my other agency in particular, like things like sometimes just got like really bad, like really, really bad, where you just weren't paying yourself like months on end. But like you get to a point, I think where Alex mentioned, like there's no way, like no matter what, there's no way going back and getting another job. Like things were really bad, things were really stressful, and like you work crazy hours, like compared to like a 9-to-5 job. But there's just something about it. It's just like I can make this work, but there's just no way I'm going back. And I think my wife's always respected that. She's never ever like gone, why don't you just go back and get a job? Whereas my dad, like he's so old school, like he was just scared. He was just so scared for me that I was quitting a job, and he just thought I was crazy, like quitting a job. He thought I was crazy. When I was young, when I first left school, I didn't go to university for 3 years, and I got a job in insurance. I was working in insurance for 3 years, and he thought I was crazy to quit that and go to university. He was like, but you're on the ladder, you can be a manager or like a branch manager one day or whatever.
You're like 50 grand a year by the time you're 50. What's wrong with you, boy?
And it's like, yeah. And I remember him like, he was like, you could see his own fear in like, for him, like that's doing entrepreneurship or running a business would never. He was like, he worked that a job all his life. Like he was what's the word? Civil servant. Like he kind of did all those kind of things, and even like when things were tough with the agency, like he was always like, why don't you just get a job? No, like there's just not an option, no matter what. But yeah, same with Adam. Really, my wife's like never ever questioned it, and like, I think she believes in me as well. Like she knows what I can do, or like knows that things go up and down, and just has that belief. So
yeah,
I've always been quite lucky there.
Nice. What do you think, Alex?
I think that generally family, friends, spouses, other people are not going to get what you're doing. They're going to say things like, "Why don't you just go and get a job?" Like I talk about my accountant. He'd say, he'd look at, like, sometimes when I'm having a bad year or a bad month, look at the company accounts and he'd go, "Well, you've hardly earned anything this year. Why don't you just go and get a job in London? You know, you're earning 60 grand a year in London. Why don't you just go back to London?" But like, because I have to go to London every freaking day. You have to get up at 6 in the morning. What do you think? And again, my wife, who wasn't my wife when I started all this, she was just my partner. In fact, I met her just after I started the wireless thing. She didn't believe that, especially when I started doing YouTube. She thought that was just a bit of fun, and I'd have to go and do something properly for after that. My parents, again, very traditional. My father worked for BT, which is the British Telecom, which is like the national phone company, or was a national phone company all of his life, pretty much. And my mother was a teacher. She just, worked as a teacher all her life. And I remember them saying this to me all the time when I was young, and to basically everyone. This is what, and because it was obviously passed down from their parents, which was basically, you go to school, you go to university, you get a job, you work hard. That's life. That's what you got to do. And yeah. So it's quite difficult, because I know when you're listening to some of the ebooks, or you're reading the self-help books, or you're watching YouTube videos, a lot of those gurus that are, all about making loads of money, they'll say, get rid of your wife, screw your family, don't talk to them. If they're not going to be on your side, if they're not in the same kind of energy field as you, get rid of them. And sometimes you do think that. Because people just can't see, especially when times are bad. They don't have the same drive or mentality of that. We can do it. Kind of, they'll be like, maybe you need to do something different. Maybe you need to, update your CV and all that kind of stuff. They don't. Yeah, it can be hard. It can be really hard. I think can cause friction. You're lucky to have a wife that's been supportive and with you all the way. But I think for most people, that can be a real bit of friction. And as you said, Mark, it takes at least 6 months to earn 40 grand a year off a niche. So it takes a lot longer. And sometimes, your partners and your family's patience ain't going to be that long. And they're going to go, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
Just sitting up on his computer every day in his room with the curtains closed. What's he doing up there?
Just watching YouTube.
Talking to a camera.
And then
just on the flip side of that, though, once you've done that, it's hard to go the other way around. Then to be you're almost. I found anyway. I'll just give my own personal experience. I found I'm being too supportive of my wife when she wants to do her own business. Then, and she doesn't have the same desire. So my wife runs like a little cake business. She makes brownies and cupcakes and things. And it got to the tipping point, really, where she was too busy to do that and her job. And I was like, well, quit your job. Obviously, that was my first, like, quit your job and do the cake stuff full time, and we get you a little shop and things like that. And she's like, oh no, I don't think I want to do it full time. I then couldn't. I struggled to be supportive of that decision, because I couldn't get my head around why she would want to stay at a job then rather than quit to do her own thing. So it works both ways. Like,
yeah, and most people, they don't want to do their own thing. We spoke about this before. Some people do just want to do the 9 to 5, get in from work, crack open a beer, sit down on a sofa, turn TV on. Just it all goes out of their mind, all of that stuff, until the next morning when the alarm clock goes off and they go work again.
Yeah.
But then by 5 o'clock they're fine again. It's all done, and they don't. There is. I think we've touched on it before. When you do start up your own stuff, there's going to be times where it's not going to be going well, and money's going to be tight, and stuff's going to be going wrong. And especially when you're running an agency or a traditional business, it can get really stressful. Clients are shouting at you, and you've got bills to pay, and you've got no money coming in, and payment, all that stuff. And that can really test a relationship and just test your kind of psyche in general. A lot of people, they don't want that. They don't want that. I mean, of course, we all know that if you can push through that and build your resilience from that, it makes you so strong and confident that then nothing really can touch you, because you know that you've done that and you've been through it, and you can keep the wolf from the door, which is so empowering. But a lot of people, they don't want to go through that stuff and break out of that comfort zone.
Right.
Yeah.
And then are you guys good on time to go a little bit later, by the way? Anybody have to go? Okay. One other area of this is in-laws as well. So I mentioned my wife wasn't fully supportive, and she communicated that to her parents some, right? So I had no control over the message. You guys see where this is going. and they didn't really appreciate it. Of course, my wife got a lot of her values of jobs and stuff and the impression of jobs from her parents. So me going my own route didn't fly very well. They never said anything to me personally, but like I think they felt like maybe I was taking advantage of, my wife was still working and I was doing my own thing. And the funny thing is like some of my most profitable years were times when they thought I was doing bad, and I'm like, I'm fucking crushing it. I can't tell you how much I'm making, but you guys would be really happy if you had an idea. But they thought I was like struggling, which was it's just laughable. Again, because I couldn't control the message. So I think over time they see what I've done, and now people know what podcasts are, and people know like YouTube is a viable route to do things, and they can see that like that stuff does work. So I think now they're like, wow, it's just amazing what you've done. But for a couple years they were like, what are you even doing? Like you're clearly wasting your time. Go get a job, like go get that consulting job where people know the name of the company.
Do you think they still think you haven't got a real job?
More or less. I mean, I live a pretty leisurely life, so I think, yeah, I think that, but they do see like I have been successful, and now, my wife says, "Oh, it's crazy what he's done," so they understand.
Yeah.
She relayed it, but yeah, I mean,
None of them get it still. I don't think none of them get it. Even
yeah,
my wife and my family, none of them get it.
right, yeah, and yeah.
But I don't care. I don't care. I like to just keep it down low anyway and whatever. I mean, they like I can't understand. Like tomorrow, it still blows my mind, and that's why I guess if it's blowing my mind, it's not going to. Don't even go into this. There's 50 people have paid to come and have a beer with me in York through YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
It's amazing stuff, right? And I think, yeah, my wife still finds it quite awkward when people ask, what does he do? She goes, I don't know.
Websites.
Yeah,
websites.
On the internet.
Yeah.
Websites.
Well, and you know what? On that note, I traveled back to Atlanta a couple times, and I would like leave my in-laws, and I was like, "Hey, yeah, I have a meetup." So just what you're saying, Alex, I'm like, "Yeah, there's people we're all just gonna go hang out." It was actually during COVID, so we like went to a park and hung out outside and like hung out for a few hours. So yeah, I think like when that stuff starts happening, where there's like external people in a different location and they like show up because you said you're going to be there, that's when it's like, oh, well, that's something, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's move on to how long-term replacement income. And I'll go first here, and I'll plug one of my favorite podcasts, the Tropical MBA, and they have a concept called the 1,000-day rule. And basically, in a nutshell, it takes about 3 years, roughly 1,000 days, to earn replacement income, assuming you had some, corporate type job. So for me, it was roughly that if you back up to when I first started affiliate marketing at all. So I started in 2013. I got laid off in 2015, and by 2016, I'd replaced six-figure income. So you had to back it up, and I had a little overlap. But I think 3 years, 2 to 3 years, depending on what your skill set was before, you could replace it. So it varies. It may be a year and a half for some people. It might be 4 years for others. But I think 3 years is probably a good gauge. And if you're thinking about it from day one, you're like, that is a really long time. But if you zoom out and you're like, in 5 years, do I want to work for myself and be comfortable and be able to take like a month vacation? Then 3 years is probably worth it. So we'll just go around here and then we'll hit the questions from the audience. So Alex, why don't you go first? How long?
Yeah, obviously it depends on how much you were earning in the first place and where you want that, whether you want to match that again. You've got to give it at least a year. I think I could probably just check actually. It was about a year and a half, I think. When I started, I remember I had a really good month once. in terms of commissions, and I like pulled in 5 figures in the month from just one affiliate program, and I thought, wow, now we're proper. But that didn't last, and like all these things with these incomes that we create, they do kind of fluctuate a little bit and go up and down and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it was about a year and a half, and then the money was kind of consistent every single month, pulling in a good 4 figures every month, which was perfect.
Nice. Very good. All right, Adam, what do you think?
Yeah, so for me, like when I quit my job, like I definitely wasn't on 6 figures like you were, Doug, or anything like that to replace some. My bar was set quite a bit lower, I think. And yeah, I bought another site like a month and a half after I finished, and that site took off again quite quickly. And I then used more of the chunk of that 60,000 to buy another site. So I actually replaced my job income in I think it was about 7 or 8 months, but it's because I bought additional income. I wasn't creating it from scratch, basically. I was buying income. So it's quicker if you've got capital to deploy like that. If you've got enough capital, you can create job replacement income overnight by buying a website that replaces your salary. The problem comes is, how do you get that chunk of cash up front? And usually that's the bit that takes a year, 2 years, 3 years to acquire that kind of capital, I guess, whether that's through working a side job, a side hustle, starting a website and then growing it and maybe flipping it or whatever. I think that's the key is to try and acquire some capital, which you can then use to create job replacement income elsewhere or in other ways.
Perfect.
Would you ever, and just a quick side note, would you ever borrow money to invest in a website?
Well, yeah. So interestingly, before I met Mark, I was going down that route. So my path would have been very different right now. I pulled together a pitch deck. I'd had a partner who had run and exited a business for multiple millions as a co-founder, and we were about to raise almost a bit like Onfolio did, raise capital to go and purchase assets, websites, and run them and grow them and flip them. So yeah, as a business, that was on the table, and I was going down that route before I met Mark. Personally, I've never borrowed money to do that, and I think it depends on the situation now. So currently, where I've got my website income is a decent chunk every month, I'd feel a lot more comfortable now borrowing money to buy more assets, safe in the knowledge that if it failed, I could still pay the service that debt.
Service that debt, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer in debt if used the right way. Like historically, we're at the lowest interest rates we've ever had. And I have this argument with I've got a twin brother, and our mindsets are like total opposite. And I have this argument with him all the time. His main primary goal in life is to pay off his mortgage. And I'm like, Josh, don't do that. It's the cheapest debt you'll ever have. Like, if you can take that money and you can make, his interest rate is fixed for 5 years for like 1.7%. I'm like, if you can take that money and make more than 1.7%, don't pay off your mortgage. And he just can't get his head around that.
Why does he want to pay off his mortgage? Because that's what he's been told, probably by your parents.
Yeah, I think lots of people have that mindset. So my friends, Jess's friends, lots of them, when they seem to get into their kind of 30s and 40s, their mindset is to pay off their mortgage early because it symbolizes freedom to them. They don't, they
You've made it on the game of life. You've won.
Yeah. And if anything, like I tell them, go the opposite way. Like if you've got a plan to use the money, like go the other way and keep that money.
You could be enjoying that money or just doing something else with it rather than giving it all to the bank.
Yeah, this is
I mean, but I guess it takes the pressure off going forward, because if you are going to quit your job and you paid your mortgage off, then at least you're talking about expenses. You brought them way down, haven't you?
Yeah, but
I think talking about using debt, I think the experts call it leverage. Yes. When you use debt to create more money. So, but you wouldn't say, go and buy a website on a credit card or something like that.
I'd be comfortable doing that now because again, because I've got the income to service that debt if it failed, and I've got over the years I've got a pretty good track record of picking sites that don't tend to fail. Like I've definitely picked failures in the past, but my track record was pretty good. So I definitely would feel comfortable if someone came along to me today and said, borrow £100,000 off me for 2%. over 5 years, I would say yes. So if anybody's listening and has got a spare 100 grand they want to lend me at 2%, I'd take it all day long.
Yeah.
Like,
But on the
But
flip
not,
side,
not
if
a
someone
credit
was kind
card.
of new to this game and they said, I really want to kind of hit the ground running, should I go to the bank and borrow 20 grand to buy a website? What would you say to them?
no, it depends on your situation. Like I said, it depends on your tolerance for risk, and it depends on your situation. If you've
It's going to be quite risky because they've never done it before.
no, definitely
Yeah,
not then. Don't do it if you've never done it before.
Yeah.
But then you see a nice website on Motion Invest or wherever, and it's pulling in.
Don't see nice websites on Motion
500 a
Invest.
month.
Come on now.
Yeah. So, and I'll jump in and disagree with Adam on this, because you're saying you would get it with a credit card, but not at like 21% interest. You would borrow money at like 2% or like.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I could borrow money at like at mortgage rates, like
Right.
mortgage interest rates, like a couple of percent, then
Yep.
I would be leveraged to the hilt to go
Right.
to buy more websites. Yeah.
Yep. And I was going to say the paying off the mortgage is a big debate in the personal finance and financial independence community. So another plug for the Mile High Five podcast. But yeah, it's a psychological thing, right? Because we could look at the spreadsheets and we're like, okay, low interest rates, that debt is really cheap right now. Inflation's kicking in, right? So those dollars are even like less, right? So it's a great deal, but your monthly cash flow that's required is different. So you have to look at everything. And I mean, it really is just like, if you sleep better at night, it's like one of those rules, not look at the spreadsheet and like, this is the right way to do it. But yeah, I mean, we have a mortgage and it makes sense to have one. So
I think it comes back to literally like the most basic of formulas. Can you borrow money at a cheaper rate than you can make money? And if you can, then it makes sense to borrow money and put that money into something that makes you more. Like, and that doesn't have to be websites. Like if you can borrow money at 2% and you can invest in the stock market over 20 years and it averages 10% every 20 years and you're paying 2%, you're making 8% for free from someone else. That is what banks do. Like this is what you become a bank. A bank will borrow money off people all day long and pay them little interest and then put it to work elsewhere at higher interest.
Yep.
You just have
That
to
works,
adopt
yeah.
the mindset
Same
of a
with buying
bank.
property. You could buy a property, get a buy-to-let mortgage, you let it out. Someone else is paying off that debt for you. You're making
Exactly.
money.
Yeah. Me and Mark have talked about this before, and I'm guilty of not doing it in all my life, but I've got to the point now where whenever I have I think I always try and think of things as in my life as either an asset or a liability. Like an asset will pay me money or a liability will cost me money. So my car that I pay monthly for, and that's a bad example. Like I'm still a human. I like a nice car, but my car is a liability. It costs me money every month. It doesn't make me money. But on the flip side, whenever I own a liability in my life, I always try and buy an asset that will cover that with cash flow. So when I bought my car is whatever the monthly payment is. I bought a website at the same time that cash flows my monthly car payment. So it's not me now that's paying for the car essentially, because over the course of 5 years and the car is paid off, I still own that asset. I haven't lost anything on it, assuming that it doesn't go tits up. And it's still then producing the same cash flow at the end. And it's still got the same value. So I'm always trying to balance my life between assets and liabilities now.
That's classic Rich Dad Poor Dad.
I've never read that book. I've never read that book.
They're missold and mistold is when you buy a house with a mortgage to live in, you've got an asset. But it's not an asset, it's a liability. The house you live in is a liability, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it just takes money out of you, whether it be mortgage, bills, renovations, maintenance.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, we better do a quick couple of questions and then wrap it up, I guess.
Yep. And if anybody needs to drop, feel free. We got a couple questions here that I marked. So this one is from Andy. And if you go full time, but you have just one site making money, what would be the next step? Build a second site, diversify the current site, something else? Anyone have initial thoughts on this? Want to go first?
It depends on the scope of the site you've already got. I mean, so you'll be able to know, depending on the site, whether there's scope to build it up. If there's scope to build it up, then you build it up. You do more of what's working. If you think you're completely saturated on that one in terms of content, there's not a lot more you can do with it, then yeah, you go for a second site, I guess.
Okay, and I'll jump in for the counterpoint. Don't worry about the second site. And I would say if you have a site and it's earning some money and you've saturated the content, like Alex said, like go back and improve the other content. There's a strong chance you're not ranking number one for all the terms that you can. And if you could rank number one for those, then you'll be earning like so much more money than you expect. I think almost every stream, I'm like, people stop building new sites, like work more on the one that you have. All the big success stories that I have where I interview folks, it's like they worked on one site for like 3 or 4 years and they didn't start another one. It was their sole focus. They kept iterating and iterating. So I think that's a much better move. It's harder to do because you're bored and you want to build something new, and it's harder to iterate on the same thing over and over again. So just the counterpoint, Alex, I mean, that's a viable route too. So, Mark, Adam.
I think it depends. It depends, really. It seems like a pretty straightforward question, but actually, there's so many like it depends parts of that. Really, like if it's making you enough money, like I'm assuming it's making enough money that you've got money to then invest. You've got enough money to live and enough money to then invest in more content, a new site, or are you doing it yourself? Like I don't know, like. I think it depends on the site, as Alex says. So if you've got scope to grow it out, like if it's really growing, got a lot of momentum behind it, then yeah, like we always say, put your money or your time into the horse that's winning, the one that's really like taking off. If you've got more scope to grow it, then grow it. But at some point, you're going to want to diversify out, especially if your income, your life relies on it in case Google comes along one day. But all the time that it's showing great month on month growth, and like definitely just keep investing in that.
Yeah.
Okay. Adam, anything else? You agree?
Yeah, just agree with.
Okay.
Just agree with everything. I don't think I'd be adding anything new.
Cool. All right. Amin says, what are your thoughts on fuck you money? How many months of spending is reasonable to have up front before thinking about going full time? So I'll just hop in and say, I think it's personal. We've talked a lot about risk tolerance and stuff like that. And, depending on how elastic your expenses are, if you can rein them in, I think, you can have a little bit less, but it's really personal. You and your family got to figure that out. So Adam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, just personally, I didn't when I quit, I didn't think of how many months' salary I had from that sale because I knew I was going to buy another website out of it anyway. But there was more than 12 months worth of kind of savings there, I guess if you call that savings. But I didn't think of it that way. So it comes down to your risk tolerance and how quickly you think you can make things work and what you're going to do. Like Mark said, if you've got 6 months worth of savings and you're going to start a brand new niche website, it's probably not a good idea if you've only got 6 months worth of savings. But if you've got a service business and you've been doing it on the side for a little while and you've got a reputation, and if you quit your job and you could take on more clients and you're comfortable that you could do that pretty quick, then 6 months runway might be sufficient. It just depends on the situation, I think.
All right. Alex, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's whatever you're comfortable with, I think. But it's good to have a bit of a buffer. 6 months probably minimum.
Yeah.
But then you can always spend less, as I say, that makes it last longer.
Yep. And I think one piece to add, like if you could do some like part-time work or something like that, maybe, not an ideal job, but something where you can earn a little bit to add a buffer in addition to your sort of nest egg of runway, like that could be another way just to temper it. Okay. So let's move on.
If you've got a skill, then consultancy works, then that's something that's really good because you can do a day's consultancy a week or whatever, and that can really help supplement. So if whatever you do can be rolled into consultancy, I think that works quite well as a counterbalance sometimes.
Okay. Nice. All right. This one's from Dia, not really related to the topic, but what about sites who are stuck even with quality content? Do you think Google is playing with our emotions? Not specifically. I don't think they care about our emotions one way or the other. I don't think they're playing. I would say, one thing I would look at is people often think they're content is really quality. And then when I go look, it is not. So I would look really hard at what you think is quality content, because there's a chance it's not. And I'm not saying you personally, Dia, but I see it probably 80% of the time. Someone's like, it's really good, and it is not good. It is bad. So what do you guys think on this one?
I think you've said it, yeah. Google's not messing around with any emotions. You think, oh, they sit in the office in Mountain View going, wow, how can we upset Adam today? He's got such good content, but we don't want good content on our search results page. Get him out of here.
The truth is, like, sites plateau sometimes as well, even if you're continuing to work on them. Like, it doesn't always look like a perfect graph that goes up to the top right in a straight line. Like, you can be working on it, and generally, like, I think that's a misconception, is like, actually it could be, you know, you can see it flatline for a while, and then suddenly you'll get a big spike, and then it'll flatline a bit longer. That's kind of more, you know, kind of normal. I mean, I guess when you're doing content at scale, it tends to look a bit smoother, but like, it depends how many, like, if you're like, how many, it might be quality content, but if you're only putting out 3 posts a month, you're not going to be seeing any like traction. I think that's another misconception, is like, what's the amount of content you have to create to actually start seeing stuff happen? It's a lot more than you think. It's not, but a lot more than a lot of people think in the beginning. You know, one post a week, probably not going to see much change over time. You need to really scale it up. So maybe the content's great, but you're not doing enough.
Yeah. Okay. And in the interest of time, we'll kind of speed it up here. So Larkin says, people asking what I'm actually doing to make money if I quit my job. What do you actually tell people? How do you describe your niche website income to people?
Yeah, we talked about this a few times. Just say, yeah, website investing. You're a website investor. And then that generally gets people going, like, well, what the hell is that? And ask questions rather. Something else
or you just give them an example about your site, whatever it's about. You say, this is how it works. If you want, but first of all, you say, I have a niche website. Basically, I publish content on the internet. And if that doesn't scare them off immediately, they actually do want to find out a bit more, just give them a case study. So you say, okay, you know, I've got a website about lawnmowers. When people do a search on Google looking for the best lawnmower for a small garden, I've got a fantastic article that I've written. It comes up on Google. People find it. People click on some links. They go to Amazon and places, and when they buy that lawnmower, I earn a commission. And then the penny might drop in there. Ooh, you can do that.
That makes sense. Yeah, cool. And then I think that covered it pretty well. So we'll move on to Stuart. Once you earn enough, excuse me. Once you earn enough from your sites, how do you convince a bank that it's legit to give you a mortgage? Pretty sure my bank thinks I'm a drug dealer. So I'll cover this real quick for the US side. And basically, if you have 2 years of revenue coming in, if 2 years of income, like, that's sufficient. So as long as you have those 2 years, we got a mortgage, and it was, you know, no issue at all. But I had, you know, 5 years of my income, so it was clear. And I mean, I have tax returns and all the proof behind it, and it's very consistent and all that stuff. So it was no issue at all. As long as you're paying your taxes, that's what they look at over here. So is the same deal over there?
Yeah, just pay your taxes, get an accountant. Either you're self-employed or you've got a limited company and submit your taxes. Some mortgages will do it with 1 year's worth of accounts if you're a limited company. Most will want 2, but yeah, that's the only way you're going to get a bank to give you money if you pay your tax.
If you do anything non-standard, like, banks tend to freak out. They want you just to have like a 9 to 5. If it's especially the traditional kind of lenders. Like, my last business, I bought on some partners, which is why the whole thing imploded in the end. But like, I bought on some partners, and we became equal shares in the business, except I'd built the business up to a certain point. So we kind of said, right, all of the dividends up to this level are mine, and then everything we do above that is shared. Like, the bank could not get their head around that. They were like, well, you're 3 equal partners. It's equally split. It's like, no, it's like, here's the contract. Like, up until here is my, like, that just blew their mind. They just couldn't, they're just like, no, it's just too non-standard for us. We don't get it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, try and make it standard, I guess.
To get a mortgage if you don't have at least 2 years records.
Yeah.
Of good earnings.
That seems to be the standard. Okay.
I got my mortgage a long time ago when I had a proper job. It was easier.
Yep. Oh yeah, and actually that's a tip right there. So if you are going to quit, go ahead, get your mortgage while you get a W-2. I have a friend around here, and he's working at Amazon. So he was like, I'm going to buy the house, get the mortgage, and then he can quit after that.
Once you've got it, you're fine. You can do what you want. It's just getting it.
Yep.
As long as you obviously got to keep paying it.
Pete says, how hard is a pure advertisement monetizing strategy offering no service except helpful content and 90% organic search traffic? So Adam, you and I have talked a few times on my podcast about, you purchase sites, a lot of times they're pure advertisement. So yeah, what do you think starting from scratch? How hard is it? Scale of 1 to 10.
Oh, what a loaded question! I think it's easier these days than creating an affiliate website. To be honest, the content is easier to create. It's typically less saturated for the higher, like anything commercial these days. If it's got high search volume, is taken up by Wirecutter, those kinds of websites, or like big newspapers that have those types. So the opportunity with display ads and information based content, I think, is huge. It's the reason why I've pivoted my own portfolio to be like 80 to 90% display ad income rather than the other way around, what it was a couple of years ago. So yeah, I think it's easier.
Okay. Any additional thoughts, Alex, Mark?
No, but I don't think it's that hard. You just need to get a lot of content and a lot of traffic. I think a lot of people are now monetizing with ads predominantly rather than affiliate.
It's really popular, and I would say in a year to maybe 3 years, it'll swing back. So I think we're seeing like everyone's doing display ads right now, and it's like all information topics. So I think it'll get saturated. It'll swing back like it does. Okay, so we're going to wrap up here. Thanks everyone for asking questions. We're going to go around, hear what's going on with you guys. I'm going to go first because I think I know what's going on with you guys coming up this weekend. So I want to plug my my podcasts. So I got the Doug Show and Mile High Fi. There's links in the description. I cover a lot of success stories. There's been some really interesting ones in the last few weeks. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I publish usually like 1 to 2 videos per week. A lot of times they're success stories. Sometimes they're like case studies. Like I'm working with niche website builders, Mark and Adam, on a case study, publishing a bunch of content. So there's all sorts of content related to that stuff. And then I also talk about like retiring early, the financial independence, and that's Mile High Fi. So it really ties in well. We didn't touch on some of that, but if you're aiming to just like have options, that's really like, I think one of the best ways. I mean, entrepreneurship fits in really well. You could earn money, work for yourself, all that kind of stuff. So with that said, Alex, what's going on with
it's
you?
affiliate gathering. Yeah, that's the main thing. Tomorrow is the Fringe event, and then the big day is on Friday. So looking forward to that. That's the main thing I've got to report. I think it's probably too late to get a ticket, possibly. There may be still some available.
Sure.
But you can. I think you can still get a digital ticket today if you want to join us online. It's all going to be professionally streamed, and I'm hoping to catch some footage, and I'll maybe drop a few videos on there. But we'll see how it goes.
Gotcha. And you're doing a talk, right, Alex?
Yeah.
Are you nervous?
I've done public speaking for a long time, and then when I did used to do public speaking, I never thought it was that good. So we'll see how it goes. But I'm just going to. I decided because Carl, I was speaking to Carl. He came on the stream last night, and he said I've written like 5 pages for my talk. I'm going to be reading it off the lecture or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that. So I've got some bullet points. I kind of want to encompass what we have been talking about over the last few weeks, and the kind of lifestyle aspect of what we do, because there's people there that are far more well versed in more technical things like keyword research, content creation, SEO, all that kind of stuff. So I don't want to do any of that techie stuff. I want to talk about more things that we talk about how life changing this stuff is. So it's only 20 minutes, and I know that when you get up on stage and start talking, the time goes like that, doesn't it? And I've got a few bullet points I want to talk about and maybe take a bit of interaction from the crowd. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. As long as I don't get too drunk on tomorrow night. That's going to be the trick. because I think doing it with a hangover might be a struggle.
That's awesome. Good luck. Have fun. Have fun doing that, man. All right. Adam.
Yeah, so we are going to the affiliate gathering event as well. We're traveling up tomorrow, which means we don't have our usual planned live stream going out tomorrow. Although we may go live at some point if we can grab a couple of people and just, I don't know, say hello from the affiliate gathering up in York. And then on Tuesday next week, we have our Age Domain Tuesday stream, which is going really well. This week, we covered backlinks, so what to look for in a backlink profile. And next week, we are covering anchor text. So we're trying to take it a little bit more back to basics, kind of go deep on like specific topics. So next week is all about anchor text, what a good anchor text is, what it means, what a bad anchor text looks like, potentially how you fix bad anchor texts is. I don't know. We haven't figured out the full topic yet. And then the other thing that we do on those streams is we delve into two of our age domains that are for sale on our website. And people seem to love that because we do like the due diligence live on the stream as though we would do it normally. And then we cover off like our ideas around what we would do with the website, look at competitors, look at what kind of content's working well for them, look at what programs they're using, how they're monetizing, that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll cover another two of those next week. And we also have our own event, which is a digital event. So if you can't travel to York, we have our Building Empires. Is it building.empires.live, Mark?
Yep.
So go to building.empires.live, register for our event in June. Both Doug and Alex are speaking there as well. And we've got loads of other people speaking. And it's a free digital event. So if you can't make York and you still want to go to an event online, then sign up for that too.
Cool.
But I think that's it.
And I realized, Mark, Adam said everything. So what's the number one thing you're looking forward to for affiliate gathering? Maybe people
I'm looking for.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, forget the affiliate gathering. Like I'm looking forward to our event now, and Ricky's coming. So Ricky's going to be, building empires. He's ditched affiliate gathering, and he's going to be building empires. So, but yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I'm not so bothered about talks. It's about networking, meeting the people. I'm really excited about meeting. There's loads of people like us that we talk online all the time and not actually met in the real world. So I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what it's all about, really, isn't it?
Very cool. So we do this show every week. We're going to be, I think, on the Niche Website Builders channel next week, right?
We are.
Awesome. So be sure you check it out. There's a link in the description for Niche Website Builders, their channel, and Alex as well. So thanks a lot, everyone. Great live